Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is quantum shifts. And we're going to be looking at how the shift, for instance, from our paradigm of separation and otherness to a paradigm of unity and connection is not a linear process. And we'll just explore this notion of quantum shifts of a consciousness and awareness. Anyway, before we get started, I think it'll be a fun conversation. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules and electrons, lighting you up with this beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very softly rub your fingers against your palms and feel the deliciousness of that sensation, the tickling, the tingling, and allow that sensation to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. It's great to be here with you this morning. And I am delighted to be here with you guys. If you're putting in comments and I'm not responding, please know that it's because I don't see the comments. So if you'd like to go over to the Enlightened World Network Facebook page, you can put comments in there and I should be able to see them. So today's topic is quantum shifts. And this actually came up with a client yesterday, and it was really, really profound and beautiful. And I've seen this theme actually multiple times with clients. So we've spoken about, how we take on these roles and create polarities oftentimes by taking on certain roles that look meritorious on the surface, or that look beneficial on the surface. So for instance, the role of protector, right? That seems like it would be a great role, a laudable role. And the thing about protector is that it's defined by the requirement to protect, meaning that it is founded in a paradigm of danger, right? So when we look at the pervasiveness of some of our assumptions around separation, because what we're really talking about is movement from a paradigm of separation to a paradigm of connection. And so much of what is ingrained in our culture is defined by polarity. And you could say, in a way, our existence by its nature is defined by separation, right? Because we have the experience of being individuated beings, right? So by definition, there's this separateness. And I'm wanting to make sure that you guys know that if you're putting in comments and I'm not responding, it's because I don't see them. So if you're not at Enlightened World Network Facebook page, well, that's where I would have the best shot of seeing your comments. And I don't know what's happening with the comment thing today, because right now nothing's showing up. Anyway, I'm going to assume that you're there and listening. What was really awesome in this conversation was there's been this transition for this person in relationship to be showing up as a protector, which is an awesome thing, right? In that they're taking a proactive stance in the context of relationship that had a positive effect. The interesting thing was that a lot of that protection that they were providing for somebody else was from them, and some of their patterned behaviors. But that's kind of another story. So what a protector also implies is that the person being protected is somehow less capable of taking care of themselves, that they're weak in some way, perhaps, or that they're endangered. And I'm not ignoring the fact that there are people that need protection, like in the mechanics of our world, and that are endangered in the mechanics of our world. I'm trying to address this on a more conceptual level here, to be looking at the dynamics of the paradigm that we live in that is so entrenched on pretty much every level. So what we were talking about, which was so profound, was moving from that paradigm to a paradigm of connection and partnership, and a cycle of communication and connection, versus, the protector. It's still based in this whole notion of domination and control, versus connection, communion, unity, collaboration. And what I want to address is that we don't get from here to there in a linear way. When we have a shift of awareness, we've probably all spoken of aha moments, right? Where all of a sudden you get a hit of awareness, and it shifts your perception. It shifts your whole way of thinking. And the thing about that aha moment, what's happening is that it's a quantum shift. Now, we hear the language quantum shift a lot, but just to be clear what we're talking about, in chemistry, when we talk about quantum physics, we talk about probability. So there's in a molecule, there is the nucleus, and then there are all these electrons that are flying around, right? And they don't have any specific position at any given moment. It's sort of a field of probability of where they might be found. As soon as we find them, things kind of collapse. But when they're in motion, they're in these fields, and they're orbitals of different levels of energy. So, for instance, I think it was the first orbital is kind of round, and it's just like this cloud around the nucleus. And then what happens is you add energy, you add energy, you add energy, and then bam, all of a sudden, boom, it goes up to the next energy level, and there's a new pattern. I think this one was like a dumbbell pattern, but it goes into the next quantum level. So it's not gradually transitioning into that new level. It's making a quantum shift where all of a sudden it jumps from one perception or one there's Kimberly. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. I'm so glad to see a comment, Kimberly, because I wasn't sure if anybody was able to see what was going on this morning. So thanks so much for chiming in, and I'm thankful for you too. So we're talking about quantum shifts. So what happens is it doesn't happen in a linear way. It's like all this energy, all this energy, all this energy, and then boom, new level of pattern, new level of energy, and it's expressed in a different way. And, you know, we can think of this almost like the 100th monkey idea, where there's a certain tipping point that then propagates out to consciousness. And if we can maybe entertain the idea that consciousness also exists as a quantum as a quantum construct, then it's very possible that we're feeding this new energy, feeding it, and then at some point we all get to zap into this next level of consciousness and awareness. And we're seeing indicators of that now. It may be that there might be little migrations to this other level periodically, you know, more and more expansion to this next level, that eventually it reaches a tipping point and then it all goes up to that next level. Perhaps kind of a fun concept, but we see people, there's a lot more conversation now about unity, about collaboration, about communion, about connection, about recognizing that we're one human family, and moving in, we're seeing incremental indicators that there is something going on about our whole shift from domination and control to collaboration, right? There's more and more conversation about it. There's more and more energy building about it, right? And while it looks like there's incremental change, still within that conversation about unity, we still reside fundamentally in a world that is predominantly rooted in this old way of being. The human experience for the many millennia that we've been around, right? So I think that this is kind of a hopeful notion that maybe consciousness also follows this quantum pattern, because it could mean that when we get to this tipping point, bam, like radical change that's global, and makes this shift that we so desperately need. Anyway, so this conversation yesterday, to go back around to full circle, was about this notion of being protector. And what was interesting is that for this person, in the context of being protector, what they were doing. Thank you, Kimberly. In the context of what was going on is that they were connecting to their partner more and more deeply. And again, the protection was largely from themselves. So what they were doing was working on releasing their own reactivity and essentially creating connection and compassionate empathy to connect with their partner, so that they themselves did not respond, did not react in a defensive manner, which had been kind of the existing pattern, was to get defensive. And instead they were able to connect with their, the the backdrop. I had a green screen up, and the green screen fell down, and now you see my brick wall backdrop, which is actually a real thing, rather than a virtual image. Anyway, so that's interesting that that happened in that moment, because what we're talking about is this transformation from separation as protector to connecting more and more empathically, connecting from the heart, connecting through love. And what started occurring is that the person who was doing that connecting, while they were providing this safe environment, safety to their partner, because they were not reactive, they were responsive, and compassionate and connected, what happened was that they themselves started feeling more loved, more secure, more solid. They were living out of love and thereby experiencing more love themselves, plus getting more love back from their partner. And so it moved, what we were talking about yesterday was moving from this paradigm of protection, which is again this hierarchical kind of thing, to partnership, to this cycle of connection. And it's a dramatic and quantum shift, because one doesn't necessarily, the protector doesn't lead to the partnership. But what happened was that the bridge that this person built was the bridge of love, which is so profound. They stepped into the love and connection. Doesn't mean they didn't fall out of that. They kept coming back in and stepping back in, and that love and connection accelerated itself, and to the point where we were able to identify what this quantum shift was, where it was really interesting. Hi, Lisa, welcome. So good to have you here with us this morning. So this was awesome. This was such I'm going to share the process because it was so cool. So there were two, and it's kind of an NLP technique. But so the person that I'm talking about, so courageous, I have to say, to be confronting these things so diligently and consistently. So they were talking about how they wanted to be in this state of connection all the time. And, what could we do around that? And so it was really funny. I said, okay, so do you experience that feeling of connection? Yes, I can experience it. Great. And where do you feel it? What does it feel like? What are you aware of? Okay, great. Can you experience the state of disconnection? Yes. How does that feel? Not good. And okay, so are you still in the state of disconnection? Yes. Okay, so go back to connection. How does that feel? Feels great. It feels really expansive. It feels wonderful. And so I said, great, can go back to feeling disconnection. How does that feel? Terrible, not so good. And we went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I was waiting for them to tell me, to use some expletives to tell me where to go. And finally, they were in the state of connection. I said, okay, great. Go back to the state of disconnection. And they said, no. And I just get chills right now, to be remembering that, because here they got to be able to experience, I've got goosebumps all down my arms now. They were able to experience the contrast Here's the connection, here's the disconnection, here's the connection, here's the disconnection, here's the connection, disconnect. And the disconnection just really felt nasty. And so the thing is that they really recognized that they had the choice, that they had the ability to choose connection, disconnection, until finally they said, no, no more disconnection. Why do that? Why would I want to? You know, they didn't even have to go into that conversation. It was just like, no, I'm done with this connection. I had enough of that. And it was so simple and yet so profound, you know, to just allow them to make that choice in body and soul, you know, to be able to have them in a very conscious state pattern this thing back and forth. And it's like, till they get to the place where they can say, no, I don't need that. It's not happening to me. You know, it's something that I allowed to happen, and I don't need to entertain that anymore. So it was kind of, well, it was very magical and kind of miraculous and wonderful. And you know, I'm so Kimberly says it's happening for me. I don't know if you're one of the things that brings to mind, Kimberly, I'm not sure what you're asking about, but when you say it's happening for me, I think about life is happening for me and through me rather than to me. So maybe that's what you're responding to. So it's not happening to me, it's happening for me and through me. And we do get to choose. Like I didn't ask him, okay, choose. Okay, gotcha, Kimberly. I didn't ask him to choose. I didn't ask him to choose. I just asked him to have his experience. And he was able to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until he realized that it's like, why do that? I mean, he didn't even have to think about it. It was just like, no, I'm not going back there. Why? Why would I? So pretty powerful stuff. And what happened was it was a quantum shift, because it wasn't about linear thinking. It's like, so I have a very strong perspective about a lot of therapy approaches that are not particularly oriented about toward transformation, like to really making shifts, you know, like they're gradual understandings of why things are a certain way, or why we are the way we are, why we do what we do. And that can be really helpful, to be recognizing the dynamics of things. And yet understanding why we are the way we are, or why we do what we do, is not necessarily something that makes those patterns shift, because it's not a linear transition. It's not a linear transition from here's what I do. I don't want to be doing this anymore. How can I stop doing this? You know, like you can't necessarily think your way out of the box, but you can experience your way out of the box. And that's what happened for this person, where they had this contrast. And it's like, well, why would I, you know, it's like the person who goes to the doctor and says, it really hurts when I do this. And the doctor says, well, stop doing that, right? It's one thing for the doctor to say, stop doing that. It's another thing for your body and being to click into that aha moment that, oh, I'm creating this. Oh, I don't have to do this anymore. It's not a rational thought. It's an experiential contrast that then makes this quantum shift really profound. So I just wanted, in talking about this this today's conversation, I just really wanted to be looking at how this notion of quantum shift gives us a realm of possibility, gives us a I don't know if we want to call it hope, or um, gives us a perspective and awareness that things can switch on a dime, that our awareness can catapult into a new dimension in a fraction of a second. And to me, that's very hopeful, to know that even when things may look dark, and I'm talking about like on a planetary scale, on a human consciousness scale, when it looks like there's this, to me, not that it is this way, but what I perceive is like there's this interchange of light and dark going on right now that is pretty intense. And it often feels to me like a battle that can shift in a heartbeat. And I find that really hopeful, to know that each of us, as we are evolving our consciousness, as we are evolving our awareness, as we're putting toes into this new paradigm of unity and connection and expansive consciousness, that it's feeding that energy field to give us the oomph to get to that next level of consciousness collectively. So may or may not be true, but I'm gonna, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, at least for this moment, as one of my hypotheses, shall we say. And Kimberly says, healing of memories and change of perception. Exactly. That's what I work with people with all the time, is shifting our perspective and shifting our perception. When we shift our perception, we shift our reality. And it's very, very fun stuff. Kimberly says, I'm going with it too. Thank you for that, Kimberly. So I think that's it for today. Hey, Bernadette, so glad you chimed in. You too. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And it is my joy and pleasure and privilege to be here with you. And Kimberly, I'm so glad that you're part of this wonderful, wonderful community here. And April, so glad you chimed in. Wow, welcome. I don't think I've seen you here before. And please, guys, check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network's Facebook page, and Enlightened World Living, and EWN One with the Earth. Lisa says, perception is everything. Well, perception is certainly our interface to everything, right? Rosalind, you made it. Hello, good morning. So glad you chimed in. Thank you. All right, everybody. So much love to you. And I hope I get to see you again here really, really soon. Have an amazing